Thank you so much. Isn't that a beautiful way to start our service? Thank you so much for the Unity Women's Ensemble for being here today to help us worship together. We're so grateful that you're here. Look forward to hearing you sing some more. I'm glad I get to hear you sing twice. I'm not sure you're glad to get to hear me preach twice. But you have made the morning worth it to me, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and welcome to all of you. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. I want to begin, as always, by welcoming all of you to this space, all of your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, your differences, all that helps make you who you are is welcome here today. And this includes everyone who's here in this room, whether you are one of our regular members or maybe joining us more recently or even for the first time, you're equally as welcome and appreciated. So glad that you're here. And of course, it includes those who are streaming with us this morning as well. We're always grateful to know that so many of you are here as well. So welcome to one and all. A couple of announcements in case you aren't aware. Today is our annual church meeting. It will take place at 12:30 following the end of this service. So please, especially if you are a voting member, and you can get your credentials in the back. If you haven't done so already, please stay around for that as we take care of our business. We'll at least need a quorum of our voters to make that happen, so we appreciate you being here. Also want to let you know that the annual Pride Parade is next Saturday, part of Pride Week that's happening right now, and next weekend will be the culmination of that. So Saturday, June 10th, at noon, with lineup for that parade beginning at 11:30 a.m. I'm not sure where we'll be meeting yet. Do you know, Nancy? So we'll just look for each other. You usually have to do that anyway. So just look for the goofiest looking people out there, and you'll find the Unitarians. No, I shouldn't say that. Something will go in the sun if we find out where exactly to meet. Okay, that's great. So that way we can walk together. Feeling a lot of us, I think, are feeling better about doing that, post-COVID. So I will look forward to being there on Saturday for the Pride Parade as well. Also, the UUCS Church also has a booth at the festival near the clock tower, and we're still looking for folks to help staff that for about an hour. So we ask you to please sign up at the social justice table after the service for that. And perhaps in between that and quickly in between that and the start of the annual meeting. And Peggy is going to be there at the table to help. And you brought some rainbow-colored Rice Krispie treats. They have like colorful M&Ms in them, so it's a temptation to get you to stop by the table and perhaps sign up as a volunteer. We would appreciate that. And of course, I think it should go without saying, despite all of the incredible advances we've made in the area of gay rights in these past several years now, there's some backlash going on, and threatens to undo some of the goodwill that we have established in our society. So I think it's as important now as it ever has been for us to show up as Unitarian Universalist and stand in solidarity with our with those of us who are LGBT in our community. So, with that said, why don't we take a few moments to greet one another, and then we'll have our chalice lighting after that. So please say hello. so sorry to have to break that up. You guys were really enjoying yourselves, which is great. And our social hour will probably be cut a little short today, too, so I'm doubly sorry. But hopefully you'll still have time to catch up a bit more after our service. But yeah, we are moving forward now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
The opening reflection today comes to us this morning from the December 2020 edition of the UU Touchstones magazine. Kindness strengthens and deepens relationships. Kindness is a bridge over troubled water, a safe harbor in the storm, a gesture of welcome to a newcomer. Kindness is a balm that can heal the wounds of alienation and isolation. It is a gesture that can put the stranger at ease and disarm an enemy. Kindness nurtures deep connections because it is such a generous act. We don't need to question motives because kindness is always from the heart. As Mother Teresa said, kindness has converted more people than zeal, science, or eloquence. Importantly, the purpose of such conversion is to multiply kindness and weave even a deeper connections. Come, let us worship together.
And let's start with one that takes us from spring into summer. It's called We Sing of Golden Mornings. Please rise as you're willing and able. It's number 44 for those of you in the back.
We will now kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning and begin as usual. I shouldn't say as usual, as what has become usual, sadly, and that is with a candle for the people of Ukraine and that part of the world that are being devastated by the unnecessary violence going on there. Let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
In the first service, I remarked that I would like them to all come to my house and stand outside my bedroom window and sing me to sleep with that song. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, at this point, I'd like to invite all of the children forward for our Time for All Ages story. If you'd like. Come on down. So for our story today, I've got a story called Weaving Our Path, and I've adapted it from a story that was written by Martha Dallas. So imagine with me that you are going along a trail at Riverside State Park, and you come to a really steep cliff edge, the Spokane River rushing below you. There's only one way to get across. You see a bridge, and it's made this. Shedding, sorry. What would you be thinking before you crossed that grass bridge? Arthur, any thoughts? If you saw a bridge made out of grass, what would you think? Yeah, that would be one of my first thoughts too. I would want to know too if the people who made this bridge had actually stepped on it, and whether they were still using it after that first step. So of course, we don't have bridges made out of grass in Washington today, as far as I know, but many were built for hundreds of years in South America by the Inca people, and I think that a few still exist. Here's how they did it. First, they made fresh bridges each year. Everyone in the village would gather, and each person had a special job. There were people who gathered the grass, and other people took that grass and twisted it into long ropes. Still others took those ropes and wove them into thick braids. And those braids were twisted by other people into long cables that were as thick as my arm. Certain people strung the cables across the gorge and pulled them nice and tight. And finally, there were riggers who would lash the cables together in such a way as to create a footbed to walk on and rails to hold on to each side. Each person did their part as best as they could, because every one of them needed that bridge to carry them safely from one side to the other. I'm telling you about grass bridges this morning for two reasons. First, it reminds us of how important our small part is when it's part of something big and strong like a bridge made of grass. Second, we in this congregation may not be building a bridge across a raging river, but we are building a way towards our future and our shared vision. Unfortunately, there is a way to cross the river in Riverside State Park now. It's made of steel. Today after church, the grown-ups will have an annual meeting where we all decide which way to walk, metaphorically speaking. We want to walk a way that feels sure and strong and safe, a way that we know has been built well with everyone doing their part as best as they can. So may we all build that way together, like the Inca grass bridge builders. And now join me in singing the children to Children's Chapel.
This is a time in our service to still our minds and slow our breathing, moving us to a place where we can consider these words from UU Minister James Cabal Komodo. Often, I think the actions of our lives, and sometimes our entire lives, are like small stones being dropped into a pond, creating ripples far beyond the point at which the stone fell. And we never quite know what the results of our individual actions or lives may be. And yet, in my experience, at least once in a while, what may seem like an event without any redeeming value in our own individual lives may turn out to touch the lives of another person in a deep and profound way.
My reading this morning is an excerpt from a sermon I gave just over a year ago on the myth of the Hydra. In Greek and Roman mythology, defeating Hydra is one of the 12 labors of Hercules, the half-man, half-god superhero of the time. He does finally get Hydra under control, but later is accidentally poisoned by a bit of its deadly blood, which, according to some versions of the myth, causes the death of this ancient Superman. So Hydra may be the true victor of the story after all. Yet the ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus had another take on the story. "What do you think would have become of Hercules," he asked, "if there had not been a lion, as in the story, and a hydra, and a stag, and a boar, and unjust and brutal men whom he drove forth and cleansed the world of? What would he have done then, if there had been nothing of this sort?" His point being that nobody would ever have heard of Hercules had it not been for his 12 trials, including Hydra. His life would have been uninteresting and unremarkable. Hydra, like all of his challenges, helped make Hercules who he was. Learning to overcome them is what made him great. Without them, he would have been nothing.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side when times are rough. And friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down, like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. 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 Yes, I will lay me down. I will lay me down.
When you're down and
When
out,
you're down and out,
when you're on the street,
when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you.
I'll take your part.
I'll take your part.
Darkness falls.
When it comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down, like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. I will lay me down. I will lay me down. I will lay me down.
Yes, I will lay me down.
I will lay me down. Sail on, silver girl. Sail on by. Just sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. See how they shine. Need a friend. I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind. 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 Yes, I will ease your mind. I will ease your mind. Yes, I will ease your mind.
I will ease your mind.
Yes, I will ease your mind.
I will ease your mind.
Yes, I will ease your mind.
I will ease your mind.
Yes, I will ease your mind.
I will ease your mind.
Yes, I will ease your mind.
I will ease your mind.
Yes, I will ease your mind.
I will ease your mind. I will ease your mind.
Thanks again so much. You made the day just perfect for us. Appreciate it.
That was a gift, by the way.
Was a gift? In more ways than one? Yes, thank you. Appreciate the generosity as well. Yeah, thank you so much. Now I have to follow that up. Talking about manure. Somehow doesn't seem right. So, although he appreciated Stoicism, France's greatest Enlightenment philosopher, Voltaire, said, "I am rather an Epicurean. I do not think life is to be endured. I think it is to be enjoyed." And I agree, but I also think there is a lot we must endure in order to enjoy life. There's a scene in the 2008 Academy Award-winning film Slumdog Millionaire, in which a child gets locked inside a public outhouse just as his favorite action star's helicopter is heard flying overhead for a special event, arriving for a special event. The excited boy has been carrying a picture of the celebrity with him in desperate hope of getting his signature. Now the moment is finally at hand, but it is also about to slip away. Everyone in town is running to catch a glimpse of Amitabh, their favorite action hero. And with no one left to hear his pleas for help, the trapped boy looks into the well of human feces beneath him, the last possible means of escape, his last hope. He pinches his nose with one hand, holds his treasured picture as high as possible with the other, and plunk, in he jumps. In the next scene, the child is covered from head to toe with feces, human feces, running toward the cheering crowd, yelling, "Amitabh, Amitabh!" And meanwhile, the police are doing their best to hold this excited mob away from the visiting superstar. But when they realize that he's covered in crap, everyone is eager to step aside for the boy, allowing him to easily make his way to Amitabh, who readily autographs the picture. No one else was able to get close enough to get such a treasure, which the overjoyed and victorious child raises up and shouts, "Yay! Amitabh has signed my picture!" But had he not gone through the crap, Had he not remained covered in it, he would not have achieved his goal. This memorable scene serves as the perfect metaphor for what I believe life is and ought to be about most of the time. We are almost always dealing with some kind of crap. And it is often, as with the boy in this cinematic parable, the crap that other people put in our way. There are always those who don't seem satisfied unless they are interfering with the lives of others, usually trying to force their own ideas and ways on everyone else. They could be individual neighbors, co-workers, family members, or entire groups of people, religions and political parties. They can even be a single dictator like Vladimir Putin. Hell is other people, Sartre said, and at times some of them can be. But much of the time, the difficulties and the challenges we endure, we choose and take on for ourselves because, like the boy destined to become a slumdog millionaire, we know it will all be worth enduring it if it means achieving our greater purpose, which is our true source of joy. Exercise is a good example. Some may enjoy exercising, but it is not a physically pleasant experience. No pain, no gain, as the saying goes. And one of the benefits of exercise is endurance, and that's what it does. It makes us stronger so we can endure even more exercise. And it is worth enduring because of the health benefits that we enjoy as a result. This, to me, is the secret to enjoying life in general. But I don't mean to say that we should intentionally seek to suffer or tolerate the evils and injustices of the world in the hope of someday reaching an imaginary promised land. What I mean is that the secret to enjoying life is first figuring out what is meaningful. What is meaningful to us, then going for it, and then we're willing to endure whatever we must to get there. Then there is purpose in the many difficulties that we face along the way. Without such meaning, without purpose in what we do, our difficulties just wear on us and they make us perpetually miserable. There's no reason for it. But knowing their purpose even gives meaning to the difficulties. Problems and challenges before us, knowing their purpose, finding meaning, is what makes life worth living. This is so of most everything that we engage in, great or small. Now, I like to cook, for example, but it takes a lot of time to do it right. There's shopping, preparation, carefully putting the ingredients together, patience, waiting, and minding it while it cooks, and a lot of cleanup afterward to truly complete the task, right? Compared to the brief amount of time it takes to eat, cooking just isn't worth it. But the point of cooking, if you enjoy it, isn't about the time or the work involved, but the flavor of the dish that we enjoy and share with others afterwards. It can also be true of eating healthy food, which is another benefit, which can be hard to do if we don't cook at home. Hard to get healthy food if we don't cook it ourselves. So if time were all that mattered, we would just eat fast food most of the time. Sadly, some people do. The Broadway musical Gypsy includes the song "Everything's Coming Up Roses." Its last line says, "Everything's coming up roses and daffodils. Everything's coming up sunshine and Santa Claus. Everything's going to be bright lights and lollipops. Everything's coming up roses for me and for you." It's a happy song, but a little too saccharine, even for my sweet tooth, because there's nothing in it about the bitter truth that roses have to push their way into existence through the manure that enriches them, and as beautiful as they are, they still arrive with lots of thorns. They are beautiful, but they are also tough and hardy plants. Roses without thorns that don't rise up through the manure truly are as fanciful as Santa Claus and as worthless as lollipops. Reality must be faced and it must be grappled with. It must be endured before it becomes meaningful and beautiful to us. Being the minister of this church has been exceedingly meaningful and beautiful to me, but it has also been extremely challenging. And it has sometimes taken everything I have to keep going. Or maybe I have that backwards. This church sometimes takes everything I have to keep going, which has made it exceedingly meaningful and beautiful to me. For no matter the difficulties I've endured, it has continued to enable me to do what is fulfilling in my life. Whenever things are tough, I just picture the image of that little boy covered in crap celebrating his extraordinary achievement, and I think that's what ministry is. But it's like most everything else that's worthwhile in life. But there was a time not too long ago, as you might imagine, I was close to calling it quits. In the aftermath of my book, The Gadfly Papers, I realized the religion that I had been part of and served for most of my career no longer represents my values. As an institution, it attacked my character without reference to any facts, in a frenzied and panicked attempt to discredit and silence my voice. Even more painful were those within our own congregation who treated me with disdain and cruelty, and were willing to ruin our church if doing so meant crushing me. They were people I have known and loved for years. It took a toll on me, and I wanted to leave. I even planned my exit strategy. But I didn't want to leave merely because things had gotten tough. Tough only invigorates me. I wanted to leave because Unitarian Universalism no longer held meaning for me. There was no purpose in going through the crap. I still had my values, but as an institution, my religion had come to represent their opposite. Instead of the worth and dignity of every person being upheld through a culture based on freedom and reason and tolerance, the UUA leadership now dehumanizes those it disagrees with in an extremely authoritarian, dogmatic, and intolerant way. I am and always have been willing to go through the crap so long as it leads to something meaningful, so long as going through it has purpose. But being part of a religion that has become so incredibly cruel and corrupt was no longer meaningful for me. But there was still much else that did make bearing it meaningful. Firstly, ours is a historic 136-year-old congregation that has proven to consistently uphold our liberal values more than most Unitarian churches have over the decades, over such a long period. If I left, I wondered where in the current climate would our congregation find another minister committed to honoring and continuing our liberal heritage and principles. If I left, I did not believe that our congregation would survive, at least not as a genuinely liberal congregation. When I do leave, I hope I will leave this congregation better off than when I found it, ready and eager for whatever comes next. Additionally, all of this happened before and during COVID, which was just one more major challenge our congregation had to deal with. I knew at the very least I had to remain long enough to help get us through the pandemic, no matter how depressed I sometimes felt. And on a personal note, I also take some pride in standing up to bullies and to remaining standing at the end of the day, no matter how much of a pummeling I take. Surviving difficulties, including the cruelty of others, gives my life meaning. And at the end of it all, I enjoy being able to say, na 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 na. But what really kept me going and got me through a lot of this was knowing that so many of you wanted me to stay, and I had your support. Many said, please don't leave, we need you here. And when push came to shove, as the saying goes, 87% of this congregation voted unanimously for an entirely new board of trustees, which was also a tremendous show of support and a vote of confidence for me. That meant a great deal to me, more than I can say. And it is our mutual admiration and love for each other that is the main reason that I'm still here. Your well-being and the well-being of this congregation is what makes being here meaningful to me. It is what has enabled me to endure, again, a lot of the crap that we've gone through together. But none of this was really enough to make me want to stay in ministry. Not for the long haul. I came to view Unitarian Universalism as a lost cause and an imminently dying religion that no longer gives meaning. Then about a year ago, I decided I would make one more go for it by running for the UUA presidency, a position that will be voted on this very month. I didn't expect to win in this climate, but I thought it might be one more opportunity to raise awareness among other Unitarians about what's going on in our religion and to finally force a dissenting voice onto the UUA's tightly controlled platforms and podiums. Imagine me speaking at the General Assembly this month. Not going to happen. No sooner had I let our congregation know of these plans in an internal, unlisted YouTube video that I would be petitioning to run, that the corrupt administration at the UUA sent me a threatening and hostile letter radically misrepresenting their election rules around running as a petitioning candidate rather than a candidate chosen, the one candidate chosen by their own election campaign committee. And I won't go into the complicated details now. It should suffice to point out that a 2018 UUA report on changes to the UUA presidential election rules states, we recommend that the bylaw that allows for running for president by petition be eliminated. 9.6a, as it pertains to the office of president. In the absence of the will to eliminate this bylaw completely, we believe that the threshold for petition candidates should be raised significantly to at least 50 congregations from at least 2 regions and certifiable only by an action of a duly called congregational meeting. 50 congregations from what turned out to be 3 regions of the country, Those changes were improved in 2019. The UUA then falsely claimed that petitioning is part of the campaign process and can't begin until after they've announced their candidate on November 15th, giving petitioners who once had as much time as they wanted to gather the necessary petitions just 2.5 months to get 50 congregations to hold special congregational meetings to approve their petitioned candidacy. That's impossible. The UUA knows it's impossible, which is precisely what their own documents prove they wanted: to effectively eliminate the petitioning process and any challenges to their presidential nominee. Yet after all of this, in their latest UU World propaganda rag, Spring-Summer 2023, page 50, they have the audacity to write, "The UUA Board of Trustees invited other potential candidates to consider running by petition through the process defined in the bylaws, but no one chose to do so." Oh my God. As a result, their anointed candidate is now, in their own words, the sole nominee for president, just like they planned. Prior to this vicious assault on the democratic freedoms in our UUA bylaws that they themselves grant me, I had regained my enthusiasm because I found new meaning in being part of the UUA again, and purpose in enduring what I had to. But even though they illegally prevented me from running, my hopes were not dashed. This latest injustice only emboldened my resolve, and that is when the North American Unitarian Association was born, NAUA. For I realize we need not continue our pointless efforts to reform the UUA when there are enough of us to provide the very support and kind of liberal community amongst ourselves that we need. We can do that right now. And it is NAUA that has put a spring back in my step, because it has given my ministry and my life new purpose and meaning. I've had to go through a lot of crap getting to this point, but it has been worth it, because what I'm doing now will help ensure the future not only of our historic congregation, which is priority number one, the pulpit of Dietrich, but also of many other congregations, and of liberal religion itself. And for the first time in more than a century, we have an association that not only wants liberal religion to survive, but to thrive, so that through it, the whole of human civilization might begin to flourish again, by the only means which have ever proven to help society flourish: liberal values, honoring the inherent worth and dignity of every person, a respect that is maintained through systems of freedom, reason, and tolerance. When a society does that, it flourishes. And that's the gift we have and are morally obligated to give to the world. And the same is true for, well, let me back up here before I get there, because I went to chase a rabbit. I'll just say this. So, if I can someday go to my grave knowing that I helped to accomplish this much, then I will have both endured and enjoyed life, because of the purpose and meaning that this endeavor has given me. So that's a little of my story of pushing through the manure. And in case you haven't noticed, I have a lot more thorns than I used to. But I'm still blooming. And I believe the same process is at work in all of our lives, as I said at the start, because that's what life is about. Whatever happens in the coming year, our church is going to go through some tough times. Some of them may fall upon us, and some we may choose to go through, because it will be worth it in the end. The same is true for us as individuals. We're all going through something different. You just look at the person next to you. Go ahead, look at the person next to you. I guarantee you that person is going through some crap. It doesn't all show, but we're all dealing with it. Probably lots of it. Some due to circumstances beyond our control, and some of our own design. Whatever their origin, we will choose to undertake these challenges, because doing so is going to be what it takes to fulfill our purposes and to find our meaning. So the Stoics and the Epicureans were both right. Life is meant to be endured and enjoyed. We endure what we must in order to enjoy what we can. Without the manure, without the thorns, there can be no roses. Likewise, without the challenges and the difficulties that we face throughout our lives, in almost all we do, our lives would be meaningless. We could not fully unfold. We could not fully unfold as individuals, and therefore we would have no real joy. Because it is meaning that gives us joy. True joy without struggle is meaningless. It's like sucking on lollipops. May the struggles that we face in the months and the years ahead be meaningful and bring us much satisfaction, fulfillment, and joy. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, this is a joyous song. We're going to sing about June busting out all over, but then some of you might have some difficulty climbing on, so there'll be struggle too. So please stand up and do it with me. It has a little preface. I'll sing and I will cue you when the June part starts, okay? March went out like a lion, whipping up the water in the bay. Then April cried and stepped inside, and along came pretty little May. May was full of promises, but she didn't keep them quick enough for some. And a host of doubting Thomases was predicting that the summer'd never come. But it's coming, by gum, you can feel it come. You can feel it in your heart, you can see it in the ground, you can hear it in the trees, you can smell it in the breeze. Look around, look around, look around. Here we go. June is busting out all over the meadow and the hill. Buds are busting out of bushes and they're romping river bushes, every little wheel that wheels beside a mill. June is busting out all over. The feeling is getting so intense that the young Virginia creepers haven't hugging the beecheepers. All the morning glories on the fence.
sweetly sung. June is busting out all over. The sapling is busting out with sap. Love has found my brother Junior and my sisters, even Junior, and my mom's getting kittenish pap. June is busting out all over. The ladies and men are paying court. Lots of ships are kept at anchor just because the captain's yanker for a comfort they can only get in March. Because it's June, 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 June. Just because it's June, June, June. For our closing. We do not walk through the doors of any church to find a perfect group of people, but rather a church is where we practice being human. Theologian James Luther Adams. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom. I know he does, but I know at one point, I think he tweeted that one.
I want to remind everybody that you need to come to the annual meeting. You need to sign up at the back table and get a red voting card. Thank you.